Yo, 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 yo. It's your boys. We're back again. No Ball Games podcast. No Ball Games podcast. I say it twice now for no reason, but sorry, it is what it is. We go back with the boys again with a special guest today. Obviously, you know who I am. Ade Ads. Give a big shout out to Mr. Real One. Big up yourself, Real One.
Yo. That's the fake, man. Don't clap for me.
We got Mr. Gaz, Mr. Gary Bell. Big up. What's up?
Hello. Back in town.
I'll see you give it a clap for.
Yeah. Another round of applause. All right. I might get a machine now. It's like start pressing the button, but hey. Also, we got a very special guest today. Continue our series of Life Outside The Premiership, but we have a bit of a subheading now. This episode is going to be called, Gary?
Bounce Back.
Yes, called the Bounce Back episode. So we've got a lovely guest on board with us. We've got a guy called George. I'm going to pronounce your surname wrong. It's Forsyth, right?
Forsyth.
I'm a South Londoner, my English is not the best sometimes.
Nah, man, that's no excuse. And then Bruce Forsyth.
Yeah, do you not know about Bruce?
Exactly, come on, man.
Who?
Bruce Forsyth, you don't know the guy?
No, who's that?
He did Dancing on Ice, right? It was Dancing on Ice. And
He's a famous TV producer and presenter.
Yeah, your mum knows.
No, I don't know him. I'm sorry, man. I was watching Cartoon Network, mate. I didn't watch those things. But he goes by the name of Fozz. For everybody else, so we're calling you Fozz in this episode. So round of applause, big up yourself, Fozz.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Cheers.
Pleasure.
So how have you been, man? What's life like in this lockdown? How's it going?
Well, I think like everyone, a bit frustrating at times, pulling your hair out at times, but you got to get on with it. I've always been that sort of kind of person where you just life's life. You just roll with it. I think football's probably been the release in terms of not just playing but watching. You know, it feels like there's a game on every night at the moment, so that keeps you occupied. And as I say, just training still. So yeah, football's pretty much still taking over my life as it has done for the last 20 years or so. So yeah, just getting on with it really.
Cool. On that, mention you mentioned regarding football every day. I think that's absolutely right now. I think it's absolutely it's life-saving.
It's vital.
Yeah, huge.
It's vital.
Huge. Yeah.
I feel like you got mad at it. What's going on with the hair, man?
You know what? I haven't had a haircut since obviously the first initial lockdown. So I'm going through the phase where I'm like, you know what? F it. Who am I impressing?
You're like you're for prison break, mate.
Yeah, but do you know what? I'm gonna get listen. My mum, my dad, everyone's onto me. But you know what? Who am I impressing? I don't really care to be honest. So I want to go officially 1 year without getting a haircut. So I'm cool.
Oh man.
Isn't it? But I can still grow hair, so I'm happy in it. Some people are struggling, so I can still grow hair.
You never looked like this, have you? You never got to this stage, have you?
Well, my hair's never ever been this high. I've always had like haircuts from a very young age. So to me and for everybody else, this is very extraordinary. So I'm like, yeah, F it. It is what it is, isn't it? It is what it is. But I was saying about the football. Like, I think if this was like the norm, it would be so perfect. But I don't think they can handle it, footballers, at this precise moment in time on a consistent basis.
Overload, yeah.
It's way too much.
No, I agree. Fozz, are you training full time at the moment?
We train 2 mornings. It's a bit like a hybrid system. A lot of non-league, that north-south level, rather than just 2 nights a week or 1 night a week if you've got a Tuesday game. We train on Monday morning, so I've trained this morning, and a Thursday morning. So really, so we can prepare for each game. So on a Monday, we've got a game against Brackley tomorrow night. And then obviously a Thursday's preparation for the Saturday, really. So you're in 4 times a week, which when I was professional at Kiddie, Jesus, we'd just do the same, really. Maybe an extra day, we'd do the Friday. But when you win, sometimes the gaffer gives you Monday off and gives you Wednesday off. So really, it does feel like a professional. It is ultimately professional. Very the environment and the manager and the way he does things, very professional. So yeah, it's good.
Cool.
Yeah,
I think
Josh. So guys,
sorry, Gary. I think we're actually rude here. We didn't introduce you properly, Fozz. So you're currently playing for what team at the moment?
I'm at Hereford, Hereford FC. So yeah, I joined just after Christmas. No, just literally my first game was Boxing Day when I was in the squad. Made my debut on 3 days later on the 28th against Leamington. So yeah, I joined just our league at Halzo, and that was where I was before we got suspended. It's pretty much finished now, I believe. So I know someone got in touch, Nathan Vaughan, the goalkeeper coach, and got me in. Hereford said were they interested, and like I say, went there and currently there. So no, it's going good.
Cool. So Hereford are in what league are they in at the moment? They're in
the National North.
That's
one below the National League.
Okay. So does
one
that mean
below Femi?
One below? Okay. So in regards, I know there's been a lot of cancellations of games and such forth and the leagues. So am I assuming you're the level which got affected the most, but you actually got cancelled? You wasn't classed as a high enough levels. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, the National League and National League South and North are classed as elite. Anything below that is like grassroots, I believe. So what they're saying is, when I was at Halzoin, basically our leagues got cancelled, but the timing was quite good because when Hereford made an approach for me, as our league was getting cancelled, theirs was carrying on. So I thought, I've landed on my feet here. So I went to Hereford, and now that league looks like it's going the same way. I think we find out the 28th of February whether they go ahead. I think the National League will go ahead, but I think the ones just below the North and South, I think they might be cancelled as well, if I'm honest.
Wow. Okay. Didn't know that. That's tough.
Yeah.
But so the topic for us, as we said, is bounce back. Life outside the Prem and bounce back. And you, obviously, your dad was a pro. Your dad had a fantastic career.
Who's his dad? You can't just leave that, Gary. Who's his dad?
His dad's Richard Forsyth. He played for Kiddie Harriers 300 times. Played for Stoke City. Fozz, you know better than me. Who else did he play for?
He had like I say, he's at Kidderminster. Played. I think he broke him when he was 17, and by the time he was 23, I think he played 300 appearances. And then went to Birmingham City. Got a move from the conference all the way to the Championship at the time, under Barry Fry, and then went to Stoke City after that, where he's probably his most successful time. He was there during his prime years, really, 28, 29, and went to Blackpool, Peterborough. Had just a good career, really, in League One and League Two after that.
What years was this?
Talking around 90, 96 to early 2000s.
Okay, cool.
That was when he, like I say, I was only a kid then, but I vaguely remember towards the end of his career watching him at places like Cheltenham Town. He went to there, like League Two. So, yeah, he had a very good career.
Cool.
Did you feel from an early age? I mean, you grew up around football, obviously, so you're going to watch them all the time.
Yeah.
It can go two ways, that, can't it? It can either make you love it or it can make you hate it.
Yeah. Well, I've heard there's so many people that they've got dads in the game and they don't even kick a ball or anything.
Yeah.
You see a lot of the ones, to mention the celebrity ones. You've got like Gary Lineker. None of his sons play.
That's right.
I think the Beckham sons try and play, but they're just not quite.
But
I think a lot of them, like you say, they're almost too involved in it, or they've seen it that long that by the time they're 16, 17, 18, they're not really interested. And on the other side, they haven't got that hunger, mate. Their dad's a millionaire. Do you really need to go and push yourself and earn a contract at a League One, League Two conference side when you don't have to? And that's where probably you would say you do need the love for the game, and not just at 6, 7, 8. No, when you're 21, 22, going forward, and that's
George,
what say.
Sorry, George. Did you notice that maybe when you was going through the leagues, that maybe the kids that were more well off were less motivated than maybe the kids that weren't as well off?
It's funny you asked that because linking it to my job, I have another job at a football academy. My dad's a director of a football academy in Wolverhampton called North East Wolverhampton Academy, and we've got a 16s to 19 program, and it's in quite a tough area. Not much money. And bless some of the people around that area who, have helped me with donating boots, donating stuff. But I see their hunger, and I see what they've got nothing. A lot of them, great kids, their attitude, come train every day, and it's because they almost need to make a living. They need that. Whereas some don't. Don't get me wrong. I've played with players who minted and their dad's minted, and they're just good players, and that's it. But I do think there is something there where we'll go and play I don't want to name teams, but we'll go and play certain other academies or colleges or schools in a nicer area, and they don't fancy playing our lads. Because our lads will run that extra yard. They will, just push that bit more because, like I say, a lot of them, they need that. They want to earn a contract. They want me to take them to a club on trial. And just adding to that story, we've had a lad who's gone to Ipswich Town.
I was just going to say that. Your dad told me. Yeah, your dad told me.
Yeah, Levy,
Dutch
lad. He was at Aston Villa as a kid.
Yeah.
Come to us. And I was playing at Worcester City at the time, and I recommended him. I said, I've got a lad at my academy, 17 at the time, but I said he's got scary potential. But the main thing, and like you just touched on, is that mentality of he wanted it, he needed it and wanted it. And Paul Lambert saw him in an under-23s game and just signed him like that. Said, I'll have him straight away. Signed him on an 18-month deal, and been brilliant for our academy, advertisement-wise, stuff like that. Helps promote us, but ultimately the main thing is we're helping young lads in a tough area and put a smile on their face playing football.
Because there was a recent article done on Patrick Bamford. Patrick Bamford, his background is quite well off, so he said that it was quite difficult for him to get the respect that he deserved when he was coming through the academy. He said, in particular, I think it was Sean Dyche didn't fancy him because both his parents came to his loan signing. I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah, I saw it.
I didn't know stuff like that happened. Especially, I thought that was a good thing if both your parents turned up to your loan signing, but it's quite strange.
It is strange. It is, but like I say, I think a lot of it is a bit stereotypical because there are, like I say, I've played with lads who their dad turns up in a Merc, and the kid's got brand new boots. But if they're the best player on the pitch, they're the best player on the pitch. Simple. But I think that's what the beauty of football is. It's working class. It's available for everyone. It's not like golf where you've got to go and buy 100 and 200, 300 quid golf club, or cricket where you've got to buy the pads, helmet, everything. Football is, you can get a football, nick it off the park somewhere, find one and have a kick there, your mates, the jumpers down, and that's the beauty of the game. And that's why we all love it, because it's accessible for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So, Fozz, I mean, who did you first play for? What was your boys' club?
Well, I was first club I joined when I was 6, 7, Gornal Athletic. So I was in Northampton from the age of 5, 6 because my dad played for Peterborough and we moved down to Northampton for a bit.
Okay, right.
But then quickly, obviously, we come back home when he was coming towards the end of his career. And as I say, Gornal Athletic was my first club, and that was where I first laced the boots up, played the proper games.
And you just fell in love with it straight away, independently of your dad.
I can't remember, or I can't not remember kicking a ball. That's all I can remember really as a kid. That's all I did every day. From 4 or 5, I remember I had a mini goal, plastic goal. I'd make a goal like out of like toilet roll when it's finished in the tube. Like I'd build. I was obsessed with it. If I didn't have a ball, I'd get paper and sellotape it and kick it. And yeah, I've obsessed with the game. Absolutely obsessed.
Yeah. And you, when did you went into Wolves first, didn't you?
Yeah, I went into Wolves at 7, 8. Yeah, I think it was under 9s when it first starts, but we trained. Yeah. They had like a shadow, like just before you go into under 9s.
Pre-academy, yeah.
So yeah, I was at Gornal only like a year, playing with your mates and going to like Great Yarmouth, playing in the tournaments. But as I say, I was picked up by Wolves at 8 around, and then I was there for a while. So yeah.
And how did you find the transition? I suppose you didn't really have much time in grassroots, did you? Straight into academy, pretty much, wasn't it?
Straight into the academy, and I think it's a bit of a topic now, and a lot of people say maybe going into an academy too soon. And I'd probably agree. I probably wish I didn't go in until maybe 12, 13.
That's one of the questions I want to ask.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I think when you are that young, I know it's a cliche, it is about enjoyment. Don't get me wrong, you get great training, working on things, great facilities. But I just think it puts you at such a young age, in such a pressure, not just pressure though, but just a false environment almost. You're 9 years of age, just playing football.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just wish maybe I would have played with my mates a bit longer, and I think you become a bit more streetwise. I always look back at the best times was when I played for my school.
Yeah.
Not for when I played Wolves. When I was allowed to play at school. And you might think big fish in a small pond, but it wasn't that. It was, I loved being able to just play with my mates, celebrate my mates, and not in a take the mick way and tossing it off way. It was more in just a way of, I enjoyed that. Just not as much pressure.
Or structure.
Not as sometimes a bit more less structured, but just a bit more freedom.
Yeah.
Because one thing I was probably, this yourself probably, Gaz, that I was at an age when I was 16, I was scared to have more than 2 touch. I was that drilled. I was that. It was just drilled into me.
And that's a great point as well.
My old man saying when I got to 16, 17, you've gone about 5, 6 games without having a shot. You've gone 5, 6 games. I haven't seen you, have more than 2 touch. And I think that a lot of that comes from at Wolves, drilled into me. 1 touch, 2 touch, and
move the ball,
stuff like that. And eventually it does. It molds you into a player that it's being unrealistic at times, and you see that now with a lot of under-23 players. They come out of the system and they don't know the game. They don't understand the game because they haven't really been in a proper environment. They've been in a false environment, protected in a bubble.
Do you think, Fozz, part of it's that natural ability to define your own personality with freedom, and then make mistakes that allows you to create your own decision-making database, if you like?
Yeah, I think there's a fine balance, because you shouldn't get no kid, and it's the biggest thing in youth football. I've always found, me going through it, and when I see young lads coming through, the biggest lad will always be probably the best player on the pitch from 9 to 14, 15, but he's not the best player.
Yeah.
He's not got the best brain.
Yeah.
But because he's physically stronger, physically quicker, he can pick the ball up and run past 5 players. Well, that's not teaching him the game, because when everyone catches him up at 18, 19, he won't be able to do that. Only Messi can do that. And let's be honest, he doesn't do it every week. Messi does it, occasionally. But if you actually watch, 9 times out of 10, he probably just gets it and passes it. So, it was that fine line of letting a kid express himself and have his personality, but coaching him in the right way. But I think, like you said, the main one is decision-making, is let kids learn for themselves. It's the biggest thing for football, decision-making. The best player makes the right decision at the right time.
100%. I mean, I love Wilfred Zaha, like a lot of people do, but I love his backstory as well. And it's the current under-23 coach at Fulham, Colin Ogbonmahe, who found Zaha for Palace. And he didn't go into Palace till he was 12. He'd been playing cage football, like round where the lads are from, you know, Peckham, South London area and stuff. And just learning himself, learning his own skills and tricks. I think he's a fabulous talent. Maybe he went to Man United too early, but the way they nurtured him, he was quite small when he first went to Palace, but they saw the potential in him and they played him down a year. You know, and they just let him go and express himself until he grew, and suddenly he hit 6'1", and at 16 he was unplayable. But he made good decisions because he was self-taught almost, you know, in a lot of ways.
So it's a massive part of the game that I think you touch on, that personality, that everyone has a different. No, if every player was the same on the pitch, you know, you'd have no balance. It wouldn't be a good side. You've got to have different. You've got to have players who can do different things. I always look to the best sides, and they've got something different in every position that gives something. And almost, I feel like academies nowadays, especially in England, especially in the West Midland area, I can't really talk for many others, but I feel like it is a bit of a majority. Is they're looking for that quick, strong, pacey player. And that's why we can't produce really a ball playing City midfielder at the moment. Or, I mean, John Stones is 1 in a million. Players like that, where, you know, their game's not revolved around pace. Their game's revolved around their decision making, their reading of the game. But I watch a lot of academy football, and I see a lot of academy football, and I remember playing in it myself. And it was just all about pace. I was released many times, as you know, guys.
Yeah.
My pace or my physicality. I was 14. You know, I'm not fully developed. I'm not. You know, I'm not going to be 6'4" now. I might be in a couple of years, which I am. But you know, I remember being at Wolves, and I know I might be skipping a bit of a story, but being released for that exact reason. And it's like, well, you know, I think, and it's not just me, it's how many players have you heard I was released for being too small, things like that. And I just, you know, I find it crazy.
Is that something that actually said to you, you were too small?
Yeah, I had a bone marrow test we had a bone marrow test at Wolves at 13, 14, and they basically, they get your wrist, and I don't know what they actually do, but they get your wrist, and they measure it, they do all these things. And I'll never forget it. You know, that it was predicting height and predicting stuff like that. And I was thinking, but I want to, you know, I'm doing a football. I don't want to be an NFL player or whatever. And and I think it said I was predicting I was going to be about 5'11", 5'10", like my dad. Wow. So the test wasn't very good. But I found it crazy in the first place. I mean, touching on it again, that sports science kind of thing. At 12, I was doing squats with weights on my back. You know, I was doing day release. No, it's a true story. I was doing day release.
Really?
Day release at Wolves, and we'd leave at, you know, you'd leave school at like 11:30, 12 o'clock. We'd get there, we'd train, and we'd go into the gym. And you know, I was underdeveloped really at that age. I was, you know, and I'm thinking I'm doing squats on that, but the problem was there was a lot of lads at Wolves who were 16 when they were 13, 12. They were grown men, they were developed, so they were doing it, but they forgot about the players like me who it was making me worse. I was waking up the day after, and I was like, Dad, I can't move hardly. And my dad was like, it's crazy. But the funny thing is, and how football goes full circle, they've took the gym out now at Wolves. They don't even do it because now Nuno's come in, and the Portuguese, they don't believe in it. So they've changed the whole system again. And in another 10 years, it'll change again. And it's like, you know, a lot of it's about timing, a bit of luck, but, you know, and we'll touch on it probably later as well. You need that coach who just believes in you and gives you that bit of time and that bit of opportunity. I didn't have that at Wolves at the time.
So, quick question. You see how you believe the academy's study just decision making and growth. Do we think that is actually better for elite coaches now, where they get to overcoach, let's say, And that means that the players know exactly what they do, when they want to do it. And basically the coach gets to implement his ideas on the team completely. So I've noticed with certain elite managers, maybe like with Mourinho, Klopp, and Pep, they're very detailed with their game plan. And I think that's kind of tied in with the new academy style, where your coach basically to listen to instructions from like age 8. So when it comes to maybe like around 20, 21, 23, you're used to a lot of instructions. So these managers get to implement their blueprint 100% on the team. And that kind of works in favor for them, rather than maybe if we go down to like maybe like a Harry Redknapp, which tends to favor players expressing themselves. Do you see that maybe the way academies are coached now is a benefit to certain managers rather than the others?
I think the word you use there, overcoach, I think a lot of them, and without being offensive or anything, and don't get me wrong, there's some brilliant coaches, youth level, absolutely fantastic, but they put their nice coat on, their skinny joggers on, and they try and do the pep look and stuff like that. But a lot of it is, I do worry that some of it is about them more than the player, because the exposure on telly, every time we watch the telly, it's like Monday Night Football's on in the background of me, and I was watching it beforehand. All they talked about was Klopp, Mourinho. They're talking about the coaches, not the players. So it's that in the spotlight. And I think a lot of these coaches now at these clubs, in academies, obviously I imagine they all want to eventually get to that level. I just think that over-coaching, you got to remember you're coaching 9, 10-year-olds who are they're going to school in the day, they're still learning about just life in general. I think stripping it back to basics, especially from a young age, and it's about the player, simple. It's about the players. Harry Redknapp, classic example. I mean, I know he likes a checkbook, but he's not known as being he's not hands-on on the training pitch, but he got Tottenham Hotspur to the Champions League for the first time in their, history and stuff like that. So I think it's that balance where there's coaching and there's brilliant coaches, but there's also that other side where, as we said, that bit of freedom, bit of personality, not to let kids make mistakes, because ultimately you make mistakes, you learn then. You don't learn if you just keep doing the same robotic things, almost being controlled like a remote control. You do this, do that now, do it. You're not learning. The kid's not learning.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Rohan as well. The shelf life of a first team coach is what, 3 years probably.
Yeah.
So you're not going to make an 8-year-old understand the patterns of play.
Sorry, Gary, is that for a coach or a manager? Or a head coach? Sorry.
Both the same thing. Manager basically just has more input on the day-to-day running of the club than a first team coach.
What I'm trying to imply is like, like, as in actual coaches, like not that first team coach, as in like Michael Kenner or Michael Carrick, for example.
Adi, Pep's a coach, isn't he? First and foremost, he's a head coach and a manager as well, but he's a head coach. But I mean, there's no point Man City getting the best 5-year-old in the country and trying to make him understand how Pep plays, because first of all, as Fozz said, he's got to be a footballer first. You've got to use both feet, manage the ball, express yourself, understand how your body shape needs to be when you receive it, and different things like that. So all the component parts. I think Wenger sums it up perfectly, because he said between 8 and 14, that's your foundations of being a footballer. First and foremost, you become the best technical footballer you can be. And then from 14, you're learning the game, you're developing physically, so that you've got the tools in your bag to play for any manager. Because if Tony Pulis suddenly comes in, just hypothetically, if Chelsea gets sick of all these new forward-thinking managers, like Thomas Tuchel and all that, and they suddenly say, we want Tony Pulis, that's it. Your left back then has to completely change his game, He's then got to be able to ping the ball 60 yards with backspin to stop it in the channels so they win possession half the pitch. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas obviously Tuchel's trying to play it. So building a footballer should be all about ball mastery, every single skill in the locker, receive the ball with every surface of your foot on both feet, and have the right body shape to look after it, manage it and stuff. That's what I think the academy system should be all about, up to about 12, 13, and that's why results shouldn't count. I'd rather lose 12-7 with some great individual players that can all play than win 1-0, you know. So, and that's the mentality that should be drilled into kids at the young ages.
Sorry, but I think then, because of these new era of coaches, I don't think they really want to have the individualism as well as the well-trained kids that are coached. Like, I'll give an example with like maybe like Riyad Mahrez and maybe like Sane. Sane's been in the Schalke academy. He's been in the academy for however long. Mahrez is kind of a street footballer more than Sane, for example. And we can see both by their treatment by Pep how they both kind of, Mahrez seems to still be on the fringes of the City team. So I just wonder if maybe high-level coaches actually just prefer academy robots than the free thinking, even though we would prefer free-thinking players.
Well, I'll tell you a little story. Fozz, do you remember Morgan Rogers?
Yeah, the lad he's on loan at Lincoln now from Man City.
That's right. He came through West Brom, didn't he?
Yeah.
Came through the West Brom Academy. So, Real Hanadi, there's this kid, Morgan Rogers, superstar. Man City signed him from West Brom for about 5-6 million as a 16-year-old. This is a fact. He trained with the first team, and Pep told him 3 times or 4 times to do something, have his feet in a certain angle to receive the ball, and he couldn't quite grasp it. And Pep sent him back with the 21s and said, "You're not ready for this." You know, because Pep is a control freak. He's all about this. It's his ways. But you know, and that's true. I've spoken to a few people around here who know the family because he's from around this way, and they all told me that they're working in football. You know, so he's a control freak. That's what he is, and he wants it every millimeter of body shape, bit of grass you stand on to be exactly as he says. It gets success though, and you're right. I think, but with academy footballers, I think they've got to. If you don't have the technical tools to manage the ball brilliantly, you can't do what Pep wants.
Yeah.
And the technical tools have always got to come first. And that's why if you're going in the system 8 to 12, it's got to be an environment where it's all about technique. So Fozz, what age were you when you got let go by Wolves? 14, wasn't it?
I was 14, 15, around that age, yeah.
And then where did you go?
Well, this is where the really the story and where the mentality comes from, really, in terms of I went to Warsaw, didn't get in at Warsaw, and then I went to Shrewsbury Town, and I was there for a year, and I was probably physically in my worst state. I was growing. I had a lot of growing pains.
Right.
I'll never forget it. The pain was at times my knees, stuff like that, and really struggling. And a lot of players got given scholars early, and I didn't. But I remember towards the back end of around when I was just turned 16, and decisions were being made in the Christmas, I was starting to really get going again. And I remember them coming to me and saying, we're still 50-50 on giving you a scholar. We'll leave it up to you. And the best thing my dad probably ever did was said, no, you know, if they want you, they want you. And I went to Aston Villa for 6 months after that, up until the summer, to try and get something. They kept me for, like I say, I was on trial for nearly 6 months. It was a long time. But they didn't want.
Sorry to cut you off. I think this is very important. So a lot of people, hopefully young people who are listening to this podcast. So you mentioned you went to a few clubs. What was your route to get there? Was you actually calling them? Was you emailing them? Was it your dad connection? What was the actual
a bit of everything. I know for a fact clubs now, they have to circulate your name. It's a legal requirement. They have to circulate your name, release players. And what other clubs do is they look at that and they say, well, let's have a look at him. And
where is it circulated? Is it circulated to every club? Or?
Yeah, there's a release that's released. I know the Premier League has a list of players that are being released from their contract. This is how I scout in Football Manager. When I take over a lower league team, so I just get in like players that are released from like United, Arsenal, any good academy, and I get them in for trials and then offer them contracts.
Yeah.
So every team basically releases the list of players that are ending their contract that season, and teams can just look at it and then pick who they
Oh,
want.
but that's for more senior players, though. This is different, though. This is for more youth.
Yeah, they do it with kids as well, don't they? Fozz?
Is it? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think just the FA, it's especially now with mental health and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think it's helping that kid. You put a lot of time in. You know, I was at Wolves from the age of 7, and I knew a lot of people there. And when I say it was heartbreaking when I got released, absolutely, I was in tears for a week. I was absolutely heartbroken, and I look back and I just think, you know, just so in tune with the drive there and seeing the same things driving past us, just, you know, and then it just stops like that, bang. And it was, you know, a massive culture shock. And then, you know, it's that false bubble again. You go to Warsaw and the facilities aren't as good, and it's like, oh, what's this? And it's dealing with those different things, them barriers. And as I say, I went to Shrewsbury and they trained on a goals. We trained at goals it's right next to the
What?
Yeah, it's not like a goals like Blackheath by me,
Yeah.
you know, where there's kids still playing. It's actually, if you go to Shrewsbury's ground, God, it's called Meadow Park or something like that. They have like an AstroTurf right next to the ground on the car park, and I think the club own it, but it's also a goal centre. But the academy use it as well. Do you know what I mean? So I never get. I'm like training Wolves in a dome and on lovely grass pitches at Compton, and I turn up on like goals. Like, what's this? But really, ultimately, it doesn't matter, does it? It's football. The goals are the same. The ball's the same. So
yeah. Oh, so how many aside was it?
Say again, sorry.
How many aside?
Oh, it was 7 aside, I think.
Okay, wow.
That's mental.
It just shows you the drop, because I've been to Compton a few times, in the facilities, you know, Wolves Academy, the facilities are fantastic. I don't think they're there at the moment, actually, because of COVID, but yeah, Cat 1 academies are just insane. You know, the pitches and the number of pitches and what the aftercare the kids get. I mean, at Aston Villa, the kids get fed after sessions, you know, and stuff. Yeah. And a lot of clubs are doing the same. It's incredible. You know, they get a meal. And so then what happened when you did, Fozz, at 16, did you have a decision to make? Because it didn't quite come off with Villa. So what happened the summer of 16?
Oh, I look back and now I realise, and I still do to this day, I don't think I quite showed my appreciation to especially, well, my mum and my dad, in terms of they took me everywhere on trial. Not like in terms of calling them up and doing all that, but I went on trial at as I say, I was at Villa. I went to Blues. I went to, that's Birmingham City, by the way, by me. Cheltenham. I went to Cheltenham, as I said, and Cheltenham was like that to getting a scholar. It was finding digs, I think it was, which was the main reason why I couldn't sign there. And as I say, my mum and dad took me everywhere Tuesday nights, and you don't think as a kid at that age, my mum's working, my dad's working, they're coming back from work, they've got to take you here, there, everywhere. But I look back now and I think it's unbelievable the support that I've had. And even when I was at Wolves, going to like Everton away and Cardiff away and places like that, supporting me. And, you know, that's when I do realise now, looking back and becoming an adult yourself, you realise the cost and everything. Unbelievable the support I've had. But yeah, in the summer.
Sorry, I keep doing it. Sorry, I keep carrying on. We mentioned this quite a few times in other episodes of the podcast. So it's great to hear it from a different perspective. So obviously, growing up in our environments, we didn't have the parents take us to football matches. So it's really good to hear from you how you seen from your parents' perspective of taking you to football games and the amount of investment they put into you. So it's actually great to hear and to compare the two scenarios of the two. Yeah. So one extreme of you being fortunate enough and for most likely, so you've had Femi Ilisami, professional footballer, we've had Moza Kariop, professional footballer. They didn't have that support system, and I've seen they went through and seen it from you as well. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think, like you say, you don't quite realise it at the time, but when you grow older, you do, because you're an adult. You're like them. Then you understand the things that go along with it, working and travel and stuff like that. But it really, I hear a lot of people, and it winds me up actually when I think of your hot people who have that hard done by mentality, or I've never had that mentality of hard done by. I probably been close to it a couple of times where I should be playing, I should, but I've always had that mentality, just work harder, because I've had everything. I've been spoilt. I've had all the opportunities. I know that. I've been to clubs after clubs and had rejection after rejection. The hard thing for me is mentally dealing with that rejection. But some people don't even get that chance to get that opportunity in the first place. And one thing my dad as well, learning from him, he had to catch 3 buses to go to West Bromwich Albion when he was a kid. He lived on the roughest estate in Dudley, and Gaz will know Dudley. It's not the it's Pateshill. It's a rough area, but he caught 3 buses. He did all that, so he knew. And I think he's almost tried to teach me that, in terms of that appreciation of just the opportunity and how lucky you are, just life in general, really. And I think if you have that, you're just a better person then. That awareness, because, as I said, the place I work at, they haven't got that support system. I can't call home because it might be a carer, it might be I can't do that. But what I can do is, and especially my dad, he'll take him anywhere in the country for a trial. We've got a lad at the moment who's on trial at Wolves. Obviously, COVID stopped it a little bit, but we took him. My dad was 6 o'clock at night taking him out of his own time to help this kid, because he hasn't got the transport. He can't get there. And that going that extra mile for people, I just think it's what we owe them, really, as well. Everyone deserves that opportunity. And as I said before, football should be accessible to everyone. And imagine not being a professional footballer or not quite making it because you couldn't get there. How sad is that, really? Or just not having that support system. And that's one thing that academies are brilliant at it. I will say they get battered a lot, but in terms of their support system, picking players up now, I know what they do. They have they're hired minibus drivers just to go around and pick lads up and do that and make sure they're there. And that wasn't there when I was there. It was just coming in then. And I know it's happened. It has happened for years, but just as I said, it's so sad that it does happen. Lads do miss out that opportunity just because of that.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. So what was next for you then? For 16 in the summer, no scholarship, no
scholarship. I'd say that was if I'm looking back now from being 24, that time in my life career was when I didn't fall out of love with football, because I've never fell out of love with football, but I was disillusioned. I was very, I don't know, maybe, I know I just said that I never had that feeling sorry for myself, but maybe I was a little bit then. I look back and I think I was applying for sixth form. I was going to my sixth form, and I never forget, I went to a Blues game with my dad. Bit of luck. Jerry Gill was there. He was academy director at Kidderminster Harriers, and he said, "Your lad, what's his situation?" He went, "Well, he's going to his sixth form and he's going to go play for a local side again, go back into grassroots football, really." And he said, "Just bring him down to Kiddie," and the rest was history from there, really. So yeah.
You went to Kiddie, and then in your second year, some mad jock coach came along.
No, it was. There's some brilliant stories, and the first year, and it's a great story I tell to all our academy lads about mentality and keep on going. I was at a stage where, like I say, I was feeling sorry for myself a bit. And I'll never forget, after we had a pre-season friendly, so I was 16, just been released from all these football clubs, going to Kidderminster Harriers. Pitches are rubbish, as we know, Bobley's things going. The kits are all baggy and all that stuff that goes into it. And I remember turning up, and thinking I'm better than this. Being a snob, a football snob, if anything, I'm too good for this. This will be a piece of, you know what. And I got a culture shock. And as I said, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And we played Redditch in a pre-season friendly, and I wasn't starting. First game of the season, well, first pre-season friendly, and I wasn't starting. My dad had travelled from work over to Redditch to watch the game, and I wasn't starting. And I come on with 20 minutes to go, and I was stropping. I was walking around. I was, this is, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm too good for this, blah. And I remember it. And I got in the car, and my dad had this calm, you know, and my dad's a very calm person. You have to get him angry, you'd have to like do something serious. And he just said, "What did you say to the manager or anything?" And I went, nothing, he's crap. These are all shit. And he absolutely gave me the biggest bollocking I can't even tell you, like the level of screaming. But really what he was trying to say is the penny going to drop? You're at Kidderminster Harriers now. You've had that opportunity, you've had that chance. Don't, none of that hard luck story. Oh, you've been lucky. I've had all that. At the time, I didn't. I thought I'll just get back there eventually. No, this is the time now. You've got to start doing it and dig in and, you know, bounce back, as we should say. Lovely little. But I'll never forget it. And from that day, he's never had to give me a bollocking since. From that day, and we always talk about it. We actually call it, and it's a bit of a funny one. We call it the steering wheel incident because he punched the steering wheel that hard. He was that angry. We call it the steering wheel incident. He won't mind me saying because we mention it over the dinner table sometimes. But that day, he was like, "You're at Kidderminster Harriers now, and you can't even get in their team. So how are you going to be able to ever play a level of football where you want to be? You can't get in this team." I was going through the motions in training. I was, you know, nowhere near it. And then within a month, I trained like an absolute Trojan. I'll never forget it. I didn't speak to my dad for 2 weeks. Dinner table, nothing. But it lit the fire. It lit something, that motivation, that something just flipped. The penny dropped, as I like to say with a lot of our lads. The penny's dropped, and I'll never forget it. I trained like crazy, and within a month, I was captaining the side, and that's the story really. And then, like Gary said, Gary come along and a massive. You know, he won't mind me. I don't want to embarrass him, but I had a lot of coaches there who, without being disrespectful, or I think a lot of didn't really back me up, or didn't. I think some didn't rate me as a player, if I'm honest. They didn't appreciate what I could do on the pitch. I wasn't quick. I wasn't a person who's going to beat 3 players and put one in the top corner. But I could read the game. I didn't really give the ball away. And I remember this Scottish guy coming up to me and just going, "You're a player, son. You're a player." I went, "Who's this bloke? I didn't even know who he was." And he went, "I've been watching you, and you haven't given up." I don't know if he remembers it. He went, "I've watched you." It was a game we played, and on a Wednesday afternoon, and he just said to me, I've watched you today. You haven't given the ball away once, and some of your passes and that, and the reading of the game." And for the first time, and this is the God's honest truth, first time I had this is why the relationship I have with Gaz, he can message me whenever or whatever. First time a coach has given me that sort of praise. And I mean, from the age of 7, 8, 9, you get you're a good player, cracking player, but he actually recognised what I do in my game and appreciated it for what it is. And I had another one, Daryl Smith, who Gaz knows. Only him and Gaz really were the ones who give me that. Like, it gives you a lift. It gives you a bit of belief. And like I say, it was just, it gave me so much confidence. And, you know, going into 17, I was flying then. I was flying. I was captain of the youth team. We were beating academy sides. But we were beating academy sides we weren't always better than them technically. Don't be wrong, the gap wasn't that big. We had some really good technical players, but it's that old classic cliche. We was hungrier than them. That we had something to prove. We had this chip on our shoulder, and there's 3 or 4 lads in that year group who were still playing at my level and stuff like that. That we just had that mentality. When we turned up to places, we thought, we're better than these. We're going to show you and give you a little bit because we want to be where you are. We want your shirt. And going to that level, dropping to that standard, it bred that. It made me, it just motivated. It lit a fire. And as I say, it was one of the best things that happened to me.
Was that group, you mentioned that group, but I think that's the best group Kiddy's ever had. With you, Big Ken, Kennedy Diggy, Luke Maxwell, Sweeney. I mean, that group is...
Well, like I say, Ken's at Hereford with me now.
That's right, yeah.
Ken's at Hereford. You got Luke Maxwell, who obviously got a move to Birmingham City. He's back at Kidderminster now.
Yeah.
Sweeney, who frustrates me because I love him. I speak to him on a weekly basis at time, and we know he's a bit of a loose cannon sometimes, but ability-wise and what he can do in his career, if he really wants to, he can play in the Football League, no doubt. Yes. But the group we had, like you say, and even the lads who didn't quite make it,
absolutely,
their mentality, the team we had, like I say, we turn up to teams, professional teams in terms of Football League clubs and stuff like that, and we beat them, and we beat them comfortably. Yeah. Because we had that just, it's hard to explain, that something about us. We went to beat teams. We didn't get to pass them off the pitch. We went to just go and beat them. And most of the time we actually ended up passing them off the pitch because we just were, it was a special group. It really was. It was best time of I look back at it now and my favourite time playing football ever because we were together every day. We went to college together every day. And then we were training and then we played games. It was just, the team was brilliant. And the FA Youth Cup summed it up. I think it's the furthest college programme, football college programme ever gone in the FA Youth Cup.
Yeah. Where'd you end up?
We went to the 3rd round proper, which we started in the 4th round qualifying. So you have to play about 7 games to get there. And we beat Burton Albion at Burton Albion.
That was incredible that night, wasn't it?
That's a team that's 5 levels above us technically. They were in the Championship at the time. I know that's first team. It's not like youth team, but we went there and we got battered for the first 20 minutes. But after that, I remember it. Luke Maxwell got his move from there really in terms of
we did
not move, but we really made a statement that night. But unfortunately, and probably later on in the story we'll touch on it, but the club wasn't quite in the right position or led the right way to do the right things by us, really.
No.
Hey, Fozz, so just to backtrack a little bit. So you mentioned obviously the Mr. Mastermind, which is Gary, how he managed, he gave you the tap on the back of the vote of confidence to make you feel like you were special. But this might sound a bit harsh for me, and I'm saying it in the most respectful way as possible. Is it because you mentioned you didn't get any like actual support from or actual motivation from coaches? Is it because you wasn't good enough? If somebody was as good as what they could have been, do you think that they would have got that support or that actual that hand over the shoulder, like you'll keep going, son, you're doing great? Or what do you think it actually was? And does that second part of that question, sorry, is did that then affect your in regards to adult football, in regards to your mentality to adult football as well?
Yeah, well, to answer the first bit, I think you're right. I don't think a lot of, or some coaches, not all of them, don't get me wrong, I had Steve Guinan, who was my actual manager / coach. He rated me as a player, knew I was technically good and I could pass the ball. And he liked me. He thought I was a good player. I don't think he really rated me as such, but he liked me as a player. But like I say, I think some people just didn't rate me as a player or didn't really see what I could do. And I don't want to come across like some, Sergio Busquets. Completely not. But I just feel like a sitting midfielder who does that kind of role, because that's where I play, sitting midfield. How many times do you hear like a sitting midfielder, they only get the appreciation once they've retired or something? It's the old Paul Scholes story, Michael Carrick, all those players. They don't realise how good they are until they're gone. But it's become a little bit more prominent now with Monday Night Football doing the analysis, and they go so in depth on certain players and certain positions. But I felt like the position I play and the sort of player I am, you've got to watch me for 5-10 minutes and really watch what I do on the pitch, rather than a Sweeney, who I just touched on, a lad who I did play with, Kiddie, who Gary's touched on. He was a lad who could pick up the ball and he could do 3 players and put it in the top corner. He really could. But he'll tell you himself, he could be awful the next game. He could be a 4 out of 10. You wouldn't see him. Whereas I'd look at myself, I'd be a steady 7 out of 10, maybe the odd 8 or 9, but usually 7 out of 10, not really give the ball away and try and dictate games like that. And I just feel like Gary was a sort of coach who, it's as simple as he appreciated it more. He just appreciated that side of football more and saw it. I know a lot of coaches now. The manager I work with now at the moment at Hereford, I know I haven't worked with him a long time, but already he compliments me on things that managers have never complimented me on, in terms of the positions I pick up. If I'm in midfield, I'll drop out in a fullback position, push the fullback on so we have an overload. He sees that I pick up different positions, I read the game, stuff like that. Whereas if I did that for another club, say, where I was at, the manager would go, what the hell are you doing? Get in midfield and win the ball back and hook it on and do your job. Their idea of a midfielder is completely different to what an idea of, let's say, Gary, or, in my opinion, a top level or a better coach thinks. And that's my honest opinion. I think it really did. And in terms of mentally, it was massive for me, because you've got to remember, I've had the no about 7 times now from clubs, not good enough, not quick enough, not big enough, not athletic enough, all the same thing drummed constantly at you. And it does take a beating on you eventually, but it's only probably later now where I've realised, ultimately, I'm playing for Hereford now, and my aim is to work as hard as I can, get the most out of my ability, and be the best player in training every day I train, or be the hardest worker in the room. That saying, it's cliche, I know, but it's just something that I live by now, that I'm going to work as hard as I can for the next 10, 15 years and just have a go and see where it takes me. And that's it, really.
2 things, George. Do you think you would have been better appreciated if you played abroad? Like maybe in Spain, where there is a Busquets and that is actually like a coveted position, rather than here where it's more blood and thunder.
Yeah, like I said, I don't want to. I'd get a bit, if any of my mates or any of the lads watch it and say I'm comparing Spanish.
Sweeney's
I don't know what the word
getting
is, a Magista or something, all this. But I just think at times, probably I would. I mean, I think I would probably suit abroad football more. Gaz would probably
I think so. I think good jobs.
Is there any reason why you didn't go?
Well, I'll be honest, it was something I spoke to my dad about for a bit, but it was not really serious, but it was something like, I'd love to play in Spain. I'd love to play at that level. And don't get me wrong, the pace is slower, and that'd probably be, 100 mile per hour, non-league games. Don't get me wrong, I can do that now. But before, I didn't want to do it. I was like, what's this? It's a crap game. I want to play it from the back and get on the ball and do stuff like that. But now it would be nice. But I think it's probably off the cards now.
So just to fast track, guys. So you obviously made it to 18. So did you get your did you become a professional, or did you become semi-pro? What's the route next?
Came professional. So 2 years as a youth team. We went on that unbelievable run in the FA Youth Cup, as I said, and the club were as I said, they were lacking a bit of. I don't think they quite realised what they had on their hands, really, if that's my honest truth. It's different now, but we'll get on to that. But I just think at the time they didn't realise, and we all got offered non-contracts at first, so not getting paid. We got non-contracts, so we were registered for the club, but you're not getting paid. So really, just an opportunity to impress as a young kid. We all felt.
Sorry, Fozz. Is that common, yeah, guys? Yeah, I never heard of that before.
Yeah, it can be common. To be fair, it's quite common now, especially with clubs with money-wise. I mean, COVID now, you'll probably see more of it. You can be on a non-contract and still get paid, but it just covers the club in terms of they've got you on a non-contract. But
okay, it's basically 0 hours contract for retail stuff like that. That type of
basically, you get a parent's money basically instead of wages. Like guaranteed wages,
So are their parents' money hiding, or is that?
Depends on the player.
Really.
Yeah.
So like, I'm on a non-contract at Hereford at the moment, so I only get paid when I'm in the squad or playing. So, you know, if you're on the bench, you still get paid, or you're in the starting 11, you get paid. But if I got injured, I wouldn't get paid for that period of time. So it's a risky one for players, but at the same time, it's that risk and reward. If you impress or if you do well, you get
free to go. Yeah, there's the clubs don't have to negotiate.
The club can't stop you. Then it's a risk for the club as well. We've seen non-league level where they've got players on a non-contract. 2 months later, they're flying, and they go, "Oh, do you want to sign a contract?" And the player goes, "Well, I've been offered a deal somewhere else, higher up, more money on a contract. Why didn't you should have offered me one 2 months ago?" And off you go. And the club can't stop you. They can't do anything. But as I said, on to the story at 18, we all got offered non-contracts, and we felt that you do the 2-year cycle in youth team. I always believe the first team manager should know who you are and be watching and seeing you are. And the manager at the time, I don't think he particularly rated me. He rated Luke, who went to Birmingham City, made 40, 50 appearances in the first team. I honestly just think he didn't rate me at the time. But he had me in training and stuff like that. And that was it really. But the crazy thing was I was still training there until, 10 games into the season. I was still there training for nothing, travelling in. And this is where I say my mum and dad giving me petrol money to get in. I had that support. I was lucky enough. And, I got it. Well, I say that. I got a job at Primark. This is the God's honest truth. I got a job at Primark, customer service. Never forget it. On a Sunday was my main working day. I'd work 8 hours on a Sunday. And that humbled me a bit as well, because you go from Wolves Academy thinking you're going to be a professional footballer at 15 to you're working in Primark and you're not really signed to a club. I'm not really playing. But the aim was always to try and get a contract. And luckily enough, Colin Gordon took over the football club and got rid of the manager. And he watched me playing an under-23s reserve game for Kiddie and offered me a contract a week later. Said, "I'm going to offer you a contract, son." And I was on £175 a week at 18. And that was it. I was signed then. And yeah, that was it.
Cool.
So, go on, Adi. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, what was that feeling like? All the hush.
It was. It's hard to explain that feeling of accomplishment. More so, you see your name being printed on the shirt and stuff like that. It's, as a kid, I remember I used to play in where my mum and dad's house. They had a long hallway, and I used to set the goal up at the end, and I used to have like a Beckham shirt on and stuff like that. I loved like having a football shirt and with the names on the back, and like you see that, it's everything you dream of as a kid, isn't it? And seeing that number 31 Forsyth, my name, and I remember the feeling. It was unbelievable. But the way it was handled after that, was unfortunately for me, just felt still mismanaged a little bit.
Okay.
What happened after that?
So yeah, I was there the first year. There was a lot of change in manager. The club was in a lot of financial trouble, and they were trying to fight off debts and stuff. And Colin Gordon come in, the new chairman, and he steadied the ship financially. He rated the academy, he tried to promote it, and he was big into it. But he brought in a manager in the summer, John Eustace, who's at QPR now. He's the assistant manager. And I look back and, I don't think I was young at the time still. Don't think he particularly rated me in terms of getting in my first team. He liked me as a player. He thought I was good, but he had to get promotion. So I wasn't his priority, just like a lot of the other lads. There's 3 or 4 of us who just weren't a priority. And I look back now and I should have left that summer. But Colin Gordon rated me, the chairman. Yeah. He rated me and he offered me another contract and I took it at the time. But really, I look back and I think, well, the manager's the one who picks the team and he's on the training pitch every day and he's the one that's got to have your support, really. And I spent time on loan. I think I had about 6 loan clubs in the end. 1 month loans here, there, Russia Olympic, Halzo Town, all these places. And you're just going from pillar to post, really. You're not developing as a player. That's the big one for me. You're not getting better as a football player. You're just going here, there, everywhere, filling gaps. I was going as cover for some teams just until an injury, come back or a suspension. And really, you're just getting 1 or 2 games here and there. And it was no good to me. And I see it now, a lot of young lads who they're in that similar position. And I always tell them, I feel almost I have to message them if I see it, like on Twitter. Like I know a young lad, I won't name him, Kiddie at the moment, who he's in a similar boat. Not in the way that I was, but he's not playing games. And I just messaged him saying, you need to play games, mate. It's the best thing you'll ever do. And that the relationship broke down, really. And the biggest story to tell from that experience is we played Weymouth in the FA Cup. And they were 4-0 up at half time. Kiddie didn't start. I was on the bench. 4-0 up. The team in the league below, because it was in the cup. Weymouth were in the league below, FA Cup. 1,500 fans there. I've been at the club now for 3 years, captain the youth team. Gaz will tell you, I'm not a bad egg. I'm a good character. I like to be a leader, stuff like that. And, he brought on a 16-year-old lad in front of me. I didn't play. And when I talk about, heartbreak, being released from Wolves, stuff like that, that one hurt, that one cut deep. And the lad who come on, I'd never want to batter a lad, but he was nowhere near the ability I had. He was nowhere near. And, my dad was there that day. And I thought I was going to make my debut for the football club. And the crazy thing is, when I go back to Kidderminster occasionally, our academy side play me sometimes, and I go back and I meet coaches. They talk like I've made 20, 30 appearances for Kiddie. I never played a game. I never played a professional game. And it's without having that hard luck story and stuff like that, I do think I'm probably the most unluckiest player to come out of that system. And they produce, but they have 180 lads on that programme every year. But they have like a select 20 that are the top players. And I was always in that select top. And Gaz will tell you, captained the youth team, did everything for the club. Christmas dues, like with the kids around the area, community work with the schools. I did a lot. Andy Blakely, who was more in charge of the education, he'll vouch for me. Darryl will vouch for me. Yeah. There's a lot of lads there who'll vouch for me and know that I was so unlucky, really. And I look back and I think I didn't make an appearance, and you brought on a 16-year-old over me who's not done the slightest of what I've done. And his explanation was he played well in the youth game. I watched him. And you know what? I don't blame the manager because he wasn't there when I was in the youth team.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like a history where it's like,
But I've captained the side for 2 years, and we've battered teams. We've been brilliant. He said his actual words were, "He's earned it," and that's when I just thought. And
it was the manager then, Fozz.
John Eustace was the manager.
It was John Eustace, yeah. Fozz, can I just to let the lads know who Colin Gordon actually is? So Colin was a pro, and then he became an agent, and he was actually Theo Walcott's agent, wasn't he?
Oh, okay.
He's Brendan Rodgers' agent.
Brendan Rodgers, Steve McLaren,
Jamie Vardy.
Okay.
So he the point I'm making is that he really knows a player, and he's the one that kept offering you the contracts, isn't he?
Yeah.
So you
Colin,
know,
with the relationship with Colin, it's a bit of a love-hate, because Colin was the person who gave me my first professional contract, and I'll never forget that, and I'll always be grateful for that. And he saw talent there. He saw what I could do. You know, he's got a bit of a nickname with the group of lads, especially around us, because there's a lot of people who don't like him. I don't dislike him. I do not dislike him. I actually like him. His son, Chris, he's a wheelchair player for England. Brilliant kid. Absolutely love him. Always talks to me, messages me on Twitter and stuff. So, but Colin, his nickname was Dream Seller, because I'd walk into training some days, 19-year-old, and he'd go, "Here he is, the future captain of the football club." He'd say things like that, and Gary will vouch for me. He was that sort of person. He was an agent. He was brilliant at selling. He was brilliant at talking. He was that sort of person. He'd go, I'd play a pass, and he'd go, "Oh, that's added $1 million to your price tag," stuff like that. He was that sort of. He's that sort of character. I don't wrong. It was tongue in cheek, maybe, but when you're 19,
like Gary, to be honest.
No,
I'm joking.
No, that's right. When you talk to him, you think, you know, it may be just at times he overdid it with some players. There was a culture at the club at the time where there was a lot of players who were he was trying to sell, he was trying to move on to make money for the football club, which is, you know, and the club were doing well. They were second in the league. I don't expect to be playing. That's the last thing I expected. They had more priorities, but I just felt as though we could have been nurtured and developed better, looked after more. I was going on another story, a pre-season game. Russian Olympic had a pre-season game, a club that are a level below. And he said, "Do you want to go and play for him this weekend?" With a view to a loan. So it's almost like a trial. It's in Colwyn Bay. And I was just like, but the thing they didn't realise is I went there 2 weeks prior to play for Russian Olympic against Chasetown. And what happened was the guy didn't even know my name, the manager. He didn't even know my position I played. I'd just been sent there. Kiddie had just sent me there to go take this lad and have a look at him. And he didn't even know my name or know my position. You know, take the care, take the duty just to know my name and know what I'm about or what sort. So he brought me on at he wanted me to go on at left back at first. I'm right-footed and I'm not a left back, you know. But 2 weeks later, they asked me to go to Colwyn Bay, which is like 3-4 hours away from me. And I've gone. I said, "Well, he doesn't even know my name and he doesn't even know the position on the pitch. Like he's just he wants numbers, and that's the sort of loans I was being sent on. And luckily enough, after that FA Cup game, the manager, me and the manager spoke. We had a falling out in the dressing room after that FA Cup.
Yeah, you had a bust up, rightly so.
Yeah, the 16-year-old come on over me, and you know what? To this day, I don't think he quite realised
the disrespect.
Or Colin, because John Eustace, the manager, blamed Colin. He said to me that, you know, they're trying to promote the academy, players coming through. But I was like, well, I've come through the academy. I think people have missed out that I've been here now. This is my 4th year, and I've still not played a minute. But it didn't really matter. It was just promoting the academy, this 16-year-old, a new one coming through. And it's that old saying, there's always someone else coming for your shirt. There's always someone new coming up that you've got to be better than. And the lad who played in front of me doesn't play football anymore, which is, you know, testament really to not just my character, but in terms of how wrong they got it. I felt that situation. You know, you've got a lad here who, I live and breathe football. I still do. And I drive my missus in training, but it's something that I just look back on. I think, no, that day was wrong that day, and I told the manager how I felt, and he said you can leave, and I had no real options. So I stayed and trained, and I was bomb squad. I was 11v11. He'd tell like 2 or 3 of us, go over there with a ball on your own, train on your own, like almost at times. Not in a nasty way. He was never.
Were you still being paid, right?
Still getting paid.
No.
Contract,
Okay.
so still getting paid. So, and it wasn't like that sitting on my money. I was being paid peanuts compared to what other players were being paid. But that's where that mental strength thing really comes into it. Where, as I say, I was, 11v11, and he'd leave me at the 11v11, or they weren't nasty about it, but they were just, go over there with the football. So, it was just, that was the situation. And I trained and I trained, and I stayed as fit as I could. And then an offer came to go to Stratford. Carl Adams, who's his name. This was on loan again. So they said, we'll take you on loan for a month again. So I'm thinking, another month's loan. You know, is it just going to be another token?
I'm not keep doing this. Sorry. I find it so interesting. How do you get sent on loan for a month? Literally a month. How is that even?
This is mainly football. You don't know.
That's crazy.
What they do is they want to see if you're good enough first, because a lot of these managers, they're part-time. They can't come and watch you at training. They have jobs in the day. So what they do is they'll go, we'll take a risk. We'll take this lad who's at kiddie on loan, give him a month, and if he's no good, we send him back. It's a no risk. Well, I went to Stratford, and bearing in mind, I've been on 3 or 4 loans now that I've either been as cover, I've been there just to cover an injury or a suspension. They haven't, I've not really been needed. Well, Stratford were in a relegation battle, and they needed a central midfield player. And I went there, in the first game we won, and that's massive. You go there and you win your first game, you play well. And I was there they extended my loan till the end of the season. I was scoring goals, playing well. And one thing I'll give John Eustace, the manager at the time at Kiddie, he dragged me in the office on the day that we all had a meeting. And he said, look, I know we had our falling out, but when we originally had that falling out, he said, you'll never play at this level, National North. He said, you'll never play at this level. And to be fair, he turned around and said, your attitude and your application and how you've trained and how you've gone to Stratford, and you haven't bit once. I haven't, I've kept on going. Fair play to you. He did nod his head to me really and go, fair play. I think you could. Still a bit patronising the way he said, I think you can play this level. And that's where you can't really say anything because you haven't made any appearances, but you want to say, yeah, I will, mate. Don't worry about that. And I keep talking about that fire was lit, and the fire was just lit even bigger now. And I was leaving Kiddie, but it was at the right time. I probably should have left actually a bit sooner, like I said, at the start of the year, but I just felt like I was let down by the system there. I look at it now and I think they're pushing players through like nothing now because they love the academy, and there's a lot of players, and I know them. The manager at the moment loves the academy and he loves nurturing players, and they're doing. My dad's the director of football there now. Bit unfortunate that he couldn't have been there when I was there. Like I probably would have played more games, but it's crazy how it's gone full circle where now they're pushing players like nothing. And if I'm honest, if that youth team would be there now, I've spoke to 3 or 4 coaches now. We'd be put on 2-year, 3-year deals because there were clubs sniffing us and all sorts. We played Ilkeston away the one day. The first team manager was there, and Notts County, Notts Forest, asking about all of like 3 or 4 of us. Birmingham City asking about 3 or 4 of us. Every game we'd have like scouts, agents trying to tap us up. I went with one agent at one point. You know, it was crazy. And I look back and I think, but Kiddie did not realise it at the time. They just didn't realise what they had. And that's not just bigging myself up. I'm on about, there was a group of lads who've missed out, a core group that just because they were that focused on the first team and winning, they forgot about developing local young talent.
Absolutely.
This is Kidderminster Harriers we're talking about. This isn't a top, you know, you've got young local talent on your doorstep, cheap, you know, they're cheap, who know about the club, they're in the club every day, and it just wasn't there, that structure, that gap. Now they've got an under 18s, a 21s, a 23s. That wasn't there before. It was just 18 straight to first team, and if you weren't cut for it, you weren't cut for it. But I left in that after that season. I left, but the loan spell at the end of the season at Stratford, Carl Adams, probably one of the best managers I've played under. It's that belief again, like Gary gave me, like Daz gave me that one, the other coach. He gave me that belief that you can't give up now, and that was never in the question anyway. But I was just always like, you know what, I've got to start again. I've got to kick on and prove myself. So yeah.
I always found it very strange that clubs neglected academies. Like I can't actually think of a reason why, especially clubs that are struggling financially, would neglect their academy. It seems like an easy way to have a consistent amount of income coming into the club, where you develop players and you sell them on, and at least gets you your club some notoriety. I find it very strange that a lot of clubs invest more in their academy.
Yeah, the Kiddie one's a weird one because it's linked with, it's not like a Wolves or a Birmingham City. It's linked with a college. So like in terms of it's like, the way I can describe it, you go to college, you do your work.
I went to a college that did a similar program, so I kind of understand what was done on there.
Kiddie, it was still, you know, we were still assets to the club in terms of if they wanted to sign us, they could sign us, and that was it. And I just find it crazy to this day that not a lot, and I keep saying it, I don't want to just think, oh, I'm the unlucky one. It was just honestly, there was 3 or 4 or 5 that they've missed out on big time, in my opinion. You know, NDG, for example, he lives 2 minutes from the ground, Kidderminster Harriers ground, and he's playing at the same level as Kidderminster Harriers now. Now, why isn't he playing for Kidderminster Harriers? You know, you've got local talent on your doorstep. I just think a club at that level, we had players, and, you know, I'm going back a bit now. When I was under John Eustace that year, they were going for promotion. They had French players. Great lads, by the way. Elton Nguatala, he went to Dundee, got a move. Usman, Farn, went to Oldham. Brilliant lads. But they were there just to get a move. They were there quick set. Whereas I always think these sort of clubs, you need players who make 150, 200 appearances, stalwarts for your club, players who know the club inside out, players who know what the club's about. And I think they're starting to do that now.
The culture of the club as well.
The culture. They lost that. You know, my dad always said when he was there as a young kid, they had all lads just around that area because they all understood the area. They all stood. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with Brandon now, but we're talking about Kidderminster Harriers here. We're not talking about
No, but even at Arsenal, I believe that's a big problem that happened at the club. Because when you don't have kids from the academy, and especially local kids, it seems like the club kind of loses its soul. You're just there as people coming to get moves. So it's just seen as
I find it crazy that I use Wolves, my local club, as a perfect example. They produced, you won't believe how many players are in the Football League from around this area who have become footballers. You know, Danny Bath, Zelly Ishmael, Jack Price, Landell, Ebanks, all these players. There's so many, like all local lads, and they've stopped doing it. They're going for Portuguese lads, lads from Bayern Munich, and I'm thinking, okay, I get it. You're trying to level that, but don't you think the best ones are going to Man City, So you're getting the ones even below that and the below that. And I'm thinking, actually, you should produce your own, because ultimately you get a Phil Foden who he's not from he's from Stockport. He's the best one of them all, and he's on the doorstep. So it's just about luck. I don't think just because he's had a Bayern Munich badge on since he's been 9 to 16 doesn't mean he's any better than a lad who's been at Crewe Alexandra, say, who produced brilliant players who go on to play in the Premier League. Just because he's had a different badge on, you know, the snobbery in football is. I do find that baffling, and from a business point of view, like you said, I just find it crazy.
Yeah, you were going to say something, wasn't you?
Yeah, just no, I've lost track. Oh, you know, going back to that game against Ilkeston, Fozz, just Che Adams played for them, didn't he?
Che Adams was up front for Ilkeston that day. We drew 1-1. Forget it. He was. You could see he was going to go higher. He was best player on the pitch by a country mile, and I mean, he was bigger and stronger than everyone else, but he also had the technique. He had the talent as well to go with it. So he was, you know, quality. He's the best player we played at that level. And as I say, within 2 years, he was. I think he went Sheffield United first. United, and then got Blues, and then the Premier League.
Yeah, he's a Premier League player. Without question.
Ilkeston were a great example at that time. Their whole first team was academy products.
Yeah.
They're 2 levels below, like the National North and that league. But it's just crazy to think that they could do it because they had a manager who just believed in it and gave that trust to players. And that's all I wanted. All I wanted is that belief or that trust, because it's crazy what you can do to a player with that trust and belief. You know, how much better they can play. You've seen it top level. It happens. Players with confidence and with belief. It's crazy. I never quite had that push at Kiddie where Colin liked me as a player. There's a few players who liked me, a few people who liked me as a player, but they never really pushed. And that's something that ultimately I might just look back and go, you know what? Maybe I just wasn't good enough, but I don't believe that. I just felt like, no, I should have been given a chance. I was very unlucky. And they probably think, oh no, he's just feeling sorry for himself. And that's,
but you know,
opinions.
So I'll tell you what, I was supposed to get the Worcester City job a long time. I don't know if you were aware of that. Oh, I did. I tapped because I texted you and Maxwell and Sweeney and a few when they were still in the Conference North.
Yeah.
I went up and I met one of the directors, but they got dropped 4 divisions, didn't they, for financial irregularity? Everybody knows it. So obviously I was in London at the time, wasn't bothered. But I spoke to my mate Luca Gabriel. You know Luca, coach?
Yeah, Luca, good. Speak to him on a weekly basis still. He's into his bodybuilding at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a very, very good mate of mine.
Yeah.
So he said to me, because I mentioned you when Lee Hughes and Snapper took over, and I don't know if it came directly from me, because you went to Worcester City, didn't you, for a while?
Yep, I went to Worcester City. That summer I left Kiddie. I signed Gloucester City.
That's right.
And by October, we talk about rejection. The manager said, not my cup of tea. I want someone in there who's going to rat around, and I'm not really looking for someone who's getting the ball off, because I'll try and get the ball off the back 4 or try and start the play off. I'm not looking for that. Get up the pitch. Very much a long ball side. And I look back, I think probably should have done my research in terms of picking a better side to get it suits me more. The manager, funny enough, the manager who was at Gloucester then, Tim Harris, he's now Worcester manager. He just took out. But someone who didn't rate me as a player. You get it.
But see, this is the big thing for me, Fozz, with you, right? And because I like my footballers with a bit of flair and a bit of intelligence, you know. And it's basically, you say you've got Conor Gallagher, no disrespect, he's played in the Prem, and Tom Huddleston, right? For me, I'm a Tom Huddleston fan all day long above Conor Gallagher.
Yeah.
Because your game reminds me a wee bit of Huddleston, you know, you like to get the ball, you've got a range of passing.
But, guys, you've just, like you say, it's what you appreciate and what you like as a coach. Some
exactly.
like that. Some might think, and I know, I've heard people say, Tom Huddleston, he can't run, he can't move, You know, but he's a great footballer. He's technique, clean. He's great pass for the ball. He can move. He works smart. He gets in good areas to intercept the play. I'm talking like I can't move. I can shift. I can move. I can run around the pitch. It's just my game was more. It was just different, and I don't think he's appreciated as much. I know we touched on it earlier in this country. I just don't think it's quite.
It's not. No, it's not. Lads, what do you think of Tom Huddleston?
He's right.
Yeah, I think he was wonderfully technically gifted, but you always need the right manager with
That's exactly the point.
Spot on. I think one of the things that seems to be the theme with all these episodes we've been having is one, it's there seems to be the need of luck for an individual to make it, and it seems to a lot of luck, should I say, and also it seems to be the preference of manager. The manager has a massive impact if an individual, and so it seems to be the theme where we've had Mozart say Paul Ince loved him, but he then when Paul Ince left, next manager didn't. So it's literally it's luck. So yeah, it's crazy. But just to I know we're kind of all running God's time now. So just a quick few 5 questions from my end. And I don't know, Gary, have you got more questions before I move on?
No, just a bit. You know,
skip over.
We've got the England C Cup. Say again, mate.
Yeah, I'll try and be as quick as possible. I went to after Gloucester Conference South. I went to Worcester on loan for a month. So we're back at square one.
Yeah.
When we talk about the bounce back, I had to drop now 4 levels down to Midland Prem. So that's like a counties level, like quite a low level. To play for Worcester City, a massive club for that level, like huge club for that level. And I went and played for them, and I met John Snape, the manager, and like you've just touched on, manager preference, huge. He's the best person I've met in football in terms of he just loved the way I play, and that whole thing, he appreciated what I could do on a football pitch. And within 12 months, I was captain of the club, and I was flying. I scored double figures and got an England C call up, and I was the lowest level player to receive an England C call up.
How did that
lowest level?
How did that come out? Did you get scouted, or how does that all work?
I played a game. Don't get me wrong, I was flying that season. I was on 11 goals, and I was playing central midfield. Paul Fairclough, the guy who runs it, it was a Herefordshire England representative game, and they were looking for lads. They didn't, they predominantly focused on West Midland clubs. So you could pick Kidderminster Harriers players, you could pick players in the conference, Solihull Moors, all the way down to, as low as you wanted. And like I say, I was playing well. And I remember the manager, John Snape, when I talk about man management, the best I've played under, knew how to wind me up. And I remember he'd sometimes say, such and such is here to watch you today. And he told me he doesn't rate you as a player. And he knew how to wind me up. He knew how to press the buttons. He'd go, I called him and he said, I wouldn't touch you. And I signed you, stuff like that, where he just knew how I worked. And I remember him that day at Ilkeston, funny enough. I've been there a few times. We played Ilkeston for Worcester City, and he said to me, someone's here to watch you today. And he didn't tell me who was here to watch me. He said, someone's here to watch you today. I didn't know where, I didn't know what, and it was Paul Fairclough. And he called after that game. He called me up, and like I said, I was the lowest level player called up. There was players from 4 levels above me called up to the squad. I was the lowest, and I was captain of the side. We trained one. We went in. All we did was we met up an hour, 2 hours before the game to have some food. And unbelievable setup it was. We had all England kit, tracksuit, everything. And I'll never forget him. He said, everyone's got to stand up and talk for 1 minute to tell us about yourself. And there was these lads coming out. Yeah, I played for such and such, leagues above me. And I've been here, I've been there. Bit like me, all similar stories, rejection. And you know, I'm hungry now to push back up and all the same. And I guess when I spoke, he liked it, and he said just before he went out, he went, "You're going to captain the side today, mate." And so a bit surreal. You're putting on an England shirt. You got captain's armband on. My granddad was there to watch. My dad was there to watch. Some of my old managers who didn't rate me there to watch. Some of the managers who've been brilliant to me there to watch. And I feel like from 20 years of age, when I went to Worcester, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Playing football every week, that was the biggest thing. I was learning the game. I was developing as a player, and I'd like to. Well, I had a good game. I had loads of offers after the game for clubs, and it was the best experience of my career. One that I look back on and will remember forever. Like, just unbelievable. My mum was there. People I say, yeah.
Who did you face?
We were against it was a FA anniversary, 125th anniversary game for Herefordshire FA, and they took an England select from West Midland area. It was just like a testimonial sort of like game, just to celebrate the FA, and Paul Fairclough selected a side from the area to play in it. And
Who did you play against?
Play against in the game.
Yeah, what team was you playing against?
Another England select.
It was like a Hereford and Wales team.
Okay.
So like that end of the country, you know, south. A lot of those players, their select team as well. So like it was like a dual select team. So mainly like Hereford and Welsh players.
Okay.
So yeah, it was like I said, great experience, one I'll never forget.
Quick question, George. You see how you said you had to drop levels and it was good to get game time. For example, like Premier League players, would you actually advise them to go down to somewhere like League Two where they can actually get lost in that league and get consistent game time, or go for somewhere a bit more comfy that will be a bit more difficult?
I think it all depends on. Everyone was saying Phil Foden's got to go out on loan, weren't they? And he stayed. Don't get me wrong, that's a different environment when you're learning around Pep and top players. I guess it's different. I think it depends on each individual, and it depends on, as we said before, manager preference. You know, Jack Grealish went and played for Notts County, I believe, and stuff like that. So there's pros and cons to everything, but I just think it can only help you playing football matches. You've got to play football matches. It was, you know, I got to 19 and I'd played about 30 games. By the time I was 21, I'd played 100 games. And you just can't beat that, getting up on a Saturday. And it's not just playing, by the way. It's how you rest and recover, learning about your body, learning about how to work, how to train properly, not just train and put your body, you know, go on a road run and do all that stuff. No, train properly and do the right things, and when to eat and all those sort of things. You learn those things as you're playing, because ultimately you're going out on a Saturday to win 3 points. Whereas if you're not, what are you doing? You're doing nothing. You're just not doing anything. You're just sitting on a bench watching a game, or you sat in the stands watching a game, which I did for pretty much 2 years at Kiddie. The best thing that ever happened to me going to Worcester. Doesn't matter the level of football. It didn't matter the level to a football. I had to go and play, and I had to be somewhere where I was almost guaranteed to play. And from that's where I really kicked on, and I went to Stourbridge for a month or so, and then the new season came and I went to Halzone.
And Snapper John Snape's the manager at Halzone, isn't he? So yeah, you've sort of done this.
He's the assistant manager.
Assisted, yeah. But what's the future then, Fozz? What's the future? How far do you think you can go? I'll tell you a little secret. I said to Luca, I think this boy can play at least conference, given time. That was what I said to him. So what's your thoughts? Where can you go now?
Yeah, I'm obviously at national north level. I think I can play in the Football League, if I'm honest. That's the belief I've got. I had an injury a year out at Halzone. Missed 9 months of football, and then I've come back this season and I've started the season well, and I got back playing quite well again, and that's it really. I'm trying to just get those games going again, get in a rhythm, playing games and see where it takes me. But yeah, I look at it and I think I can play in the Football League. I honestly believe that. I just need the right environment. Paul Becker said that to me. He said to me, "You need to go somewhere where it's the right environment." And
100%.
he's fine. You know, I feel like I'm at the right environment at Hereford.
There's a lot of familiar faces at Hereford. Josh Gowling, the manager, actually was at Kerry for years, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Big Kennedy's there. There's a few. Yeah, there's a few. It's a big club at that level. You know, on the way back Edgar Street, they used to get 4,000 in there. Best player you've played with? Best player you've played against?
Best player I played with. I've played with. I don't want to name drop badly.
Come on.
I played with a lad called Callum O'Hare at Aston Villa. He's now at Coventry City.
Yeah. I know Callum. Yeah, good player.
I trained with Jack Grealish. Played with Reece Brown, Damari Gray at Birmingham City.
Yeah.
But the best I've played with in terms of I enjoyed playing most with, he's a lad at Gillingham, Robbie Cundy. I played with him in the England FA select, and he was at Gloucester as a young lad. 6'5", centre half, can play. I think he'll play in the Championship. I think if he gets the right, you know, we talk about that luck, that opportunity, and that timing. I think he could maybe one day play in the Premier League, but he's a name to look out for sure. Robbie Cundy, a very good player.
Where's Reece Brown now? Because I saw Reece when he was captain of the Blues.
He's at Peterborough now. Peterborough on loan from Huddersfield.
Oh, okay. So he's still at a good level. Yeah, good player, Reece.
Well, like in terms of ability and who's gone on to play, you'd have to say Grealish or Damari Gray or either one of them. And then played against a player who gave me an hard time. I played centre half for Kidderminster. This is a game I actually did play in pre-season friendly.
Yeah.
Against West Brom. Solomon Rondon.
Nah, he's a problem. He's a problem.
Bear in mind, I was 19, 18, and
he's a unit.
You think I'm going to give him a bit, you know what I mean? I've tried to give him a bit of shoulder. Oh my God. I've tried to run through a truck, bounced off him. And he was a nightmare. You just couldn't. The ball's coming up to him, and I'm playing centre half, and you're trying to just give him. He just held me. He just held me like I couldn't move. I was frozen. He just said, "Stay there," pretty much. Berahino was up top with him at the time when Berahino was at West Brom, flying. And he was flying at the time, Berahino.
Yeah.
And those two were hard to play against. Let me say that, very hard.
What's the funniest story you can give us regarding your football experience or change room experience? What's the funniest stuff happened in change rooms?
There's so many. You've got the standard pranks like lock them in a room, a dark room, turn the lights off, smash footballs at them, stuff like that. But funniest one, I've seen the funniest ones I find funny is when like I've seen a couple of fights that were horrendous, so they were funny. If you know what I mean. Colin Gordon was one with Reece Dyche, the striker at the time.
Is it on the field or is it in the change rooms? Or?
In the change room.
Okay.
They were in a falling out, and it was, you know, Dyche's the lad who I wouldn't want to mess with Dyche at all. He's hard as nails, but Colin fancied himself as well. Colin was a big guy as well, the chairman at the time. But the problem was he was the chairman and the manager at the time.
Yeah.
So he's not only managing him, he's paying him and doing all. I don't think he wanted him at the club, but Dyche, one of the funniest blokes I met in the change room. I was only a young lad at the time. And they've come off at the end of the pitch and they're at each other like throat and everything. And it was just brilliant. It was just, I can't explain, it was just hilarious. But a funny story is a change room on, nothing to do with football really. I was in the change room and one of the young lads out of the youth team, they've told him one of the lads dropped his phone in water. So the trick is you put your phone in rice, dry rice. So they've gone, go to the shop and fetch some rice to this young lad. And he's gone to the shop and he's bought back Uncle Ben's microwave one that's like already cooked. Like already done. And he's put his phone in there. But the guy whose phone it is doesn't realise. He said, yeah, I've put your phone in the rice. And he's got after training. And his phone's got all Uncle Ben's, spicy rice over it. Yeah. And he's gone, what you doing? He went, you told him to get rice. He went, no, you get dry rice, not Uncle Ben's rice. And his phone is like broken and got it all over. And it's one of them, you be there, it's just hilarious. But now there's too many stories. That's the best thing people always say about the football, the changing room banter is just it's the best.
Do you remember I had a little spell managing Tipton Town just to help a mate out?
Yeah, I do.
Come on then.
So, well,
you were 17. So it was
16, 17. And that was my first ever taste of first team football. But, it was a good learning curve once again. Playing with men. Crazy to think about how long ago it was. But
I know. But do you think that helped you?
100%. 100%. It's that exposure again to men's football. And any young player out there, as I keep saying it, the biggest advice I'd give them is go and play football matches.
Yeah.
You will learn about yourself more than anything. And I always say it's not even about the football. It's that learning about when you have things going against you, going to horrible places. Are you up for it? Do you really fancy it? Always a test of your mentality.
Absolutely. Do you remember the Vaz game against Hensford Town?
Yeah.
So for the lads don't know, but Jude Bellingham, his dad, Mark Bellingham, was a very good footballer. So you know who Jude Bellingham is, boys, don't you, obviously?
Yeah.
So his dad was a striker, and he played against Fozz in that game. He played for Hensford Town. So they were a massive club. They were Conference North, and Tipton, the team I was helping manage, was only like Whiteleaf level. You know Whiteleaf, don't you, Croydon? Yeah. So at that level. So I brought the 4 boys in, and they brought about 500 fans up for the game. It was an FA Vaz game, and Bellingham was playing up top, and 2 of the lads that Fozz had mentioned, Kennedy Diggy and Luke Maxwell, played centre-back. They're both midfield players, but they played centre-back against Bellingham, and they were unbelievable. He never got a kick, and we beat them 2-1, and that was my first game in charge, And I brought these 4 in, and it was just unbelievable. It went downhill from there, I don't think we won a game after that.
It was a great experience. We were too young, probably a bit underdeveloped. We were still scrawny little gangly things.
You were all 6 foot plus though, weren't you?
Yeah,
remember?
We're all 6 foot plus, but we had no real muscle on us or anything.
No.
But as I say, it was all a grounding. And that group of lads, that section of lads who we had, they really missed a trick. We've won it with 3 or 4. And that was it. Yeah.
Fantastic, mate.
On that note, I think just to round it up, guys, I think this has been a very insightful conversation, and Fozz. I think seeing it from your football story from your perspective has been completely different to the previous guests that we've had as well. So for me, I can say it's been very insightful, and I've really learned quite a lot from what you said. And obviously, I'm sure your story's not ended yet. There's still got a long way to go. So you're doing a lot of great things. Obviously, you mentioned you're working with your dad regarding the football academy, and obviously, I can imagine you might be going further, maybe back from an agent for all I know. But well done for what you've achieved. Never give up attitude. Round of applause. I think it's amazing, and it's been Noble Games podcast.
Yeah, right, mate.
Everyone, it's been amazing.
Fantastic.